very good morning to you again. My young ladies, what did we learn in our last class? Do you remember what we learned in our last class? Learning. We learned about learning. What is learning? That it is a relatively permanent change and it is based totally on past experience. And we learned the first form of learning, and that is classical conditioning. Today, we are going to learn another form of conditioning, and that is known as operant conditioning. Now, can you remember how you were rewarded when you were growing up?
We were given chocolates or some toys, or like something like, you know, you pass and you get a bicycle or something like that.
Very good. How were you rewarded in school? How are you now being rewarded at home and in college?
Grades.
Grades, very good.
Yeah, appreciation by the teachers.
Yes. So if a teacher appreciates you, what do, Mary?
I feel happy about it.
Okay. Okay, so you try to do better.
Do better. So
that
I get
many
more.
of the things, yes.
Stickers or stars.
Very good. And now in college, what do you get?
We get awards.
Very good.
Scholarships.
Yes. So many of our learning activities are because of the consequences we get when we are doing something. So operant learning is learning based on consequences. Are they good consequences or bad consequences? Operant learning is also known as instrumental learning, and we will talk about it little later. Right now, I'm going to talk about one of the first proponent of operant conditioning, and he was Thorndike. And as early as 1932, Thorndike put a cat into a puzzle box. It was a hungry cat and there was a piece of fish outside. The cat started clawing, the cat started biting, the cat started meowing, and it was running from here to there to go forward and get the fish. Accidentally, it touched the lever, the door opened, the cat went out, ate the fish, and was very happy. And as the trials increase, the number of random activities of the cat decreased. It stopped clawing, it stopped biting, it learned to press the lever, go out and eat the fish. So Thorndike's study of learning is known as the trial and error method of learning. Can you remember any other example where I learned by trial and error? Learning my bicycle. Example,
Learning
yes.
music.
Music, very good. The first time I learned music, I make so many mistakes. But as the trials increase, the number of errors keep on decreasing. So the first person who spoke indirectly about instrumental learning is Thorndike in the year 1932, and his method is known as trial and error method of learning. Don't forget, he was the first person who gave this law. And what is this law? It is known as the law of effect. What is the law of effect? Law of effect is responses that lead to desirable effect are repeated than those that produce undesirable results. They are not repeated. But the main proponent of operant conditioning is B.F. Skinner, who lived on this planet from 1904 to 1990. And what did Skinner do? Skinner used rats. He took a hungry rat and put it in a chamber. And that chamber later on was called as Skinner's box. It's a small little box, and in the box you are having a little lever, and then you are having a pellet dispenser, and you find that the rat runs around this little box, and when it is running around the little box, it touches the lever when it's standing on its hind legs and is just exploring. Once again, accidentally touches the lever and he gets a pellet of food. And once again, when it is sniffing and touching with its paws, it touches the dispenser again. Again, another pellet of food comes, and the rat learns the trick. So he stands in front of the dispenser and goes on pressing the lever till it gets lots and lots of pellets of food. And the rat has learned to operate on its environment. The rat has learned to operate the lever to get the food. This kind of learning is known as operant conditioning. In Pavlov's experiment, the dog was passive. He gave the food, he sounded the bell. The dog had to do nothing, it had to just stand and receive the food. The dog was passive. Over here, the rat is active. I am active and I get my food. So I operate on the environment. It is known as operant conditioning. My responses are instrumental in getting reward. It is known as instrumental conditioning. What is reinforcement? Any event that increases the probability that a particular response will occur is called reinforcement. I'm carrying a baby and my baby says, "Ma, ma." And what does mama say? "Very good." We kiss the baby feels nice, the baby has got a reinforcer. The hug, the kiss, and said, "Oh my sweetie poo, you said mama." And you realize that my words, my hug, my kisses become a reinforcer for the child to learn to say mama. Even when the baby says tata, tata. First the baby just does this and you clap hands. So next the baby say bye bye ma, say tata, and the baby starts shaking her hand, and you are the one who's giving the reinforcement. And what is the reinforcement here? Your clap, your smiles, your kiss, a hug, and clapping hands for the baby are all reinforcements. So did you understand what is a reinforcement? It is an event. But what is a reinforcer? It is a stimulus. We are now going to learn the differences between reinforcement and punishment. Bear with me, and now I will talk about positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement first. Positive reinforcement occurs when a response is followed by a reward or any other positive, pleasant event. Baby smiles, you hug. Baby says mama, you clap hands. Negative reinforcement occurs when a response is followed by an end to discomfort. I'm putting an end to discomfort, or I'm trying to remove the unpleasant event. I have a headache. So what is my negative reinforcement? I take a tablet to end my discomfort, to end my pain. So over here, I am removing the stimulus. Over there, I'm presenting the stimulus. Here, I'm removing something, putting an end to pain and discomfort. And usually it is an aversive stimuli. Aversive stimuli is a negative stimuli, unpleasant stimuli, undesirable stimuli. We are now talking about primary reinforcers. Primary reinforcers are natural, they are not learnt, and they are rooted in biology. They satisfy your biological needs. Usually your primary reinforcers are food, water, avoidance of pain. When you're feeling cold, you need warmth, temperature regulation are some of your basic physiological needs, biological needs, your bodily needs. So any event that is helping you to satisfy these needs are also primary reinforcers. What are secondary reinforcers? They are learnt. These stimuli are learnt, and the best example I can give you is money, because they get their importance because they are connected to primary reinforcers. Money can buy lot of things. That is why I do lot of things to earn some money. So many of my behaviors are because I need money. So money becomes my secondary reinforcer. So also praise, so also attention, so also approval, so also your grades. All these are secondary reinforcers. Reinforcers can be primary, that is totally to do with your basic physiological needs, biological needs, bodily needs. Reinforcers can be secondary, which are attached, they are learned. I learn it in a society. I learn to earn money. I learn to please mommy and daddy. I learn to please my teacher. I want approval. I want praise. All these are secondary reinforcers.
Ma'am, how do you distinguish between punishment and reinforcement?
Punishment is a procedure by which the application or removal of a stimulus decreases a probability of a behavior. Reinforcement increases the probability of a behavior, while punishment decreases the probability of a behavior. Punishment also could be positive, punishment could be negative. Positive is I present it, while negative is I remove it. In the first page, you are finding a child gets a candy for A in school. So that is, candy is positive, it's pleasant. And what is the result? Look at the result. This result is very important. What kind of behavior am I rewarding? She gets A, I give her a candy, I give her a chocolate, a box of chocolate. So it's a positive stimulus and it is a positive reinforcement. What is negative reinforcement? The loud buzzer continues. I mean, there is a loud buzzer that goes on till I sit and buckle my seat belt. So when I put my seat belt, the buzzer stops. So what is happening here? Which behavior am I increasing? Buckling the seat belt. So you got it? What is important between reinforcement and punishment is find out which behavior. Are you trying to increase the possibility of a behavior? Reinforcement. Decrease the probability of a behavior? Punishment. Now when you look at the picture again, you find that example for punishment is the child being yelled at for hitting sister. Result, decrease in behavior. But you also have negative punishment. I take away TV privileges for hitting sister. So what behavior decreases? Hitting my sister. So did you understand the difference between reinforcement and punishment? Right. Everything you do, you don't get rewards. Every time I smile at mommy, mommy didn't hug me, but I learned to smile. Every time mommy, teacher doesn't praise you, she prays once in a way. Skinner said, now what can I do? I can't give reinforcement, reinforcer, pellet of food every time the rat presses the lever. So he made a few plans. We're now going to talk about schedules of reinforcement. It is a rule, it is a plan for determining which responses are going to be reinforced, which responses are going to be rewarded. Look here, you are having reinforcement, two types of reinforcement, continuous and partial. Continuous, I gave you reward, reinforcement at every time you present a particular behavior. The rat is pressing the lever. Let's get back to the Skinner example. So you find the rat is getting food, pellet of food every time it presses the lever. But in reality, it doesn't happen. So Skinner talked about partial schedule of reinforcement. The first way I can divide partial is in terms of the number of correct responses, and another type is time. Interval is time taken. Number of correct responses is ratio, and that can be further divided into fixed and variable. What is fixed? Ratio, schedule. Fixed is definite. Ratio is responses, schedule. Schedule is plan. The rat gets food after every 5 times it presses the lever. So after every 5th correct responses, the rat gets a pellet of food. Fixed, ratio, schedule. Definite, response, plan. The second one is variable, ratio, schedule. Variable is random, ratio is response, plan. Random, response, schedule. Random, response, plan. So what happens here? A varied number of correct responses must be made to get a reinforcer. Random. I may give pellet of food after 4 responses, then after 5, then after 6, and then take an average of 5. So after on an average of 5. I bring about an average, a mean. But I give my food randomly. Now, the third one is fixed interval schedule. What is fixed interval schedule? Fixed definite, interval time, schedule is plan. So, after every 10 minutes, the rat may press the lever 100 times, but I give the food, I give the pellet of food after every 10 minutes. And the last one is variable interval schedule. What is variable interval schedule? Variable is random, interval is time, schedule is plan. So, random, time, schedule. So, once I give after 10 minutes, once I give after 2 minutes, then I give after 15 minutes, then I give after 5 minutes, randomly.
Why are we all learning all these things? Is they useful to us?
If you look at the way responses and performance, the effect of responses on performance, just look at the chart. And the chart shows that there are short pauses after each response, and you find that the number of responses made for the fixed ratio schedule are very great. It is like this. I know that if I go to 5 important deliveries, if I do, I will get my bonus. So, I keep on doing my 5 important deliveries. So, I keep on doing and deliver my goods, or I sell my books. Every 5th book I present, sell, I get my bonus for a salesman. So, here it is fixed ratio schedule. For fixed ratio schedule, once again definite responses. After every 5th book I sell, I will get my bonus. So, I go on selling my books, right? Now, what is variable ratio schedule? When does this happen? Over here, my salesman has to go to so many places. The 10th person may say yes. So, you find that these kinds of behavior which have this variable ratio, random response plans, very difficult to extinguish. Even though you tell them, you teach them to unlearn. But no, it's very difficult because you find that the responding occurs at a very high steady rate, especially for even why gambling people find it very difficult. They go on pressing the lever. You do not know when they are going to get the sudden gains at the gambling machine or at the gambling den. If you consider fixed interval schedule, all of you are calm, aram se you listen, because you know that your exams are, next set of exams are in December, and then your set of exams are in February. In between, we all aram se sit and relax. But when exams come, again we start working, and so you have a kind of a scalloped edges on the graph that is shown on the TV. You find that there are typically long pauses after every and each response. And finally, the variable interval schedule, responding occurs at a steady rate. You do not know when exactly. I am going to give you a surprise test. So, all the time you are studying, because I may give a surprise test tomorrow, or I may give a surprise test on Monday. You are studying and you are constantly on your toes. So, this is the reason how we bring about a relationship between the schedules of reinforcement and our day-to-day life. Was that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now, so can we conclude by saying what is operant conditioning?
Learning based on consequences.
Very good. Now, who will tell me why do we call operant conditioning instrumental conditioning?
Because my responses are instrumental in getting the reward or reinforcement.
Excellent. You are a very, very active person. Please remember, in operant conditioning, we are all very active. You like your teacher, you do a lot of things. And if your teacher says very good, you are more attentive because you are getting certain reinforcement. But if all the time your teacher is scolding, you don't want her, so it becomes an aversive stimulus. That's why you do not like your father, you do not like your mother, you may not like your teacher, because here you find all the answers to all these questions are there in this beautiful topic called operant conditioning. Operant conditioning operates even and is found even in all circus animals. Can you imagine? Have you all seen elephants playing cricket in a circus? How is it they have learned all these different, complex behaviors? They have learned through systematic rewards, systematic reinforcement for all these complex behaviors.